Story 1. It depends on what kind of toxicity you want. Part of the joy of living in 2024 is you get to pick your poison. Polarized political views and hyper-partisan bickering, Twitter. Misinformation, fake and dangerous life hack videos, stolen content, and scams. Facebook. The very worst of vapid influencer culture, Instagram. Chinese disinformation, TikTok. Business culture buzzwords, corporate bootlicking, and like farming, LinkedIn. Self-censorship, heavy-handed moderation, stolen content, and endless reposts. Reddit. Story 2. You know what, I'm gonna say it. Reddit. A good portion of the people on this site are snarky, horrible, egotistical people who overestimate their own intelligence and belittle others. It's a site where most of the big subreddits peddle propaganda and United States politics. It's a site where people push misinformation and speak on subjects like they are experts in the fields, while their only bit of knowledge on said subject comes from another post they saw on this site. It's a site where moderators of subreddits will permanently ban you with no previous warning for simply sharing an opinion that they disagree with. This site has so much wrong with it, and the owners or administrators do absolutely nothing to change. Story 3. Reddit is the worst overall platform due to the moderator system. It destroys any potential for constructive exchange of ideas. Say something moderators disagree with and you get banned. 50% of the people who get banned leave the platform. The other 50% learn never to share that particular opinion. In the end, you get an echo chamber that self-censors out of fear and criticizes any outside thought. Story 4. I think Facebook is pretty bad, especially if your account isn't private. There are so many fake profiles on there. I've seen many people get hacked easily, too, especially older people who just click on any link they see. And lots of stuff gets posted without getting flagged. But you can't even write the word beat or fight without getting restricted. There's so much more wrong with it, but somehow I find myself on it every day because my family is long distance, and that's the main way we connect with each other. Story 5. Facebook is flooded with rubbish and misinformation. It is far more willing than any other platform to spread misinformation and nonsense because, at this point, it is the only thing left driving engagement. Story 6. X often feels like the most toxic. With its rapid-fire posts and arguments, it is easy for things to escalate quickly, and anonymity can bring out the worst in people. Story 7. Our Russian V-contact. Now these themes of war often flash there, and people with a photo of the letter Z on their avatar are very bilious insulters. If you suddenly say something slightly contradictory to their ideology, you can hear them insulting themselves, members of your entire family, and so on. Among other things, disagreement in opinions, even in everyday matters, always causes abusive quarrels. Story 8. Honestly, I do not think I can say any platform is non-toxic. I have had more positive experiences on this application than any other, but I have still run into some unpleasant people. Story 9. I would say Facebook, but most of the comments on public posts there just seem pretty brain dead. Twitter probably takes the cake. Everyone is always trying to cancel someone on there or something, it seems. Story 10. Facebook easily encourages people to be hostile. There is a lot of disinformation that profits off others engaging and spreading disinformation, the same with Elon Musk's Twitter. Facebook steals your information and forces views onto you, non-political, making it feel like a cult. Following behind Facebook is Instagram, and right behind it is Elon Musk's Twitter. Story 11. Reddit isn't the most toxic but the most intolerant. There are 1,000 reasons to have comments removed and get banned. For example, I posted positive comments about a local Vietnamese shop hiring local kids. That was labeled harassment. Story 12. Used to be Instagram comments, now it's definitely Twitter. Stuff I saw on the front page after making a new account. Nazi and Hitler sympathy. Calling women inferior and stupid. Calling non-whites inferior and non-human. Death threats. She needs to get raped. I don't know if it could get more toxic than that. Funnily enough, the Safe for Work 4chan boards are much better in that regard, so yeah, it's Twitter. Story 13. TikTok or Twitter. Especially after Elon Musk bought Twitter and essentially turned it into an echo chamber for the alternative right and conspiracy theorists while bullying and banning freedom of speech activists. Story 14. I am not on social media, but I still somehow always manage to come across content posted on Twitter, and it is never anything good, so I will go with that. Information shared on their spreads far and wide. It is also not a good sign when the owner of a platform with hundreds of millions of followers and hundreds of millions of users shares altered information like artificial intelligence-generated ads and pictures. Seems wildly inappropriate to me. Story 15. Twitter is just full of people making provocative comments to engage with others. The more controversial content you engage with, the more it appears due to the algorithm. It's full of people from both sides constantly arguing and acting like they're superior to everyone else. Story 16. Knee-jerk would go to Platform X. Elon lets whatever be posted there as long as it doesn't go against his right-wing ideology. The real answer is TikTok, though. The Chinese Communist Party actually controls that and uses it to dumb down and manipulate the West while educating the people using it in China. Story 17. Twitter for sure. I had to fully shut down my account and delete the app because of just how prominent things like self-harm Twitter and eating disorder Twitter are on there. It's disgusting. Story 18. 9gag easily. It used to be a great community for making memes, but after a few years away from it, I went back recently. It's now full of literal Nazis, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, and racism. It's an echo chamber that is spiraling quickly into something quite dangerous. Story 19. In my opinion, the most toxic social media platform can vary depending on personal experiences and how you use it. That said, some of the platforms that stand out the most for toxicity are Twitter and Facebook. Twitter. The immediacy and partial anonymity often lead to heated arguments. The lack of moderation on certain topics and the character limit can make people more blunt and less thoughtful. Facebook. While the audience here is more diverse in age, there's often a lot of political polarization, especially in comments on news posts or public content. Plus, the algorithm tends to push content that generates more interaction, which sometimes means more confrontation. That being said, the toxicity of a social network largely depends on who you follow and how you engage. There are also communities on all platforms that are incredibly supportive and constructive. What do you think? Have you had any particularly negative experiences on social media? Story 20. Reddit, as much as I love it, it's the only platform from which I received multiple demands to submit screenshots of my payslips when I simply stated that I made more money during Donald Trump's presidency than I did during Joe Biden's or Barack Obama's. Story 21. I think all of them are equally bad in their own way. Facebook is run by the older generation bullies, Instagram the millennial bullies, and TikTok Gen Z bullies. I deleted Facebook and Instagram 2 years ago and never looked back. Sure, Reddit has its share of unpleasant users, but I find Reddit users to be more open to discussion when they see something they disagree with. Far less, if you vote for enter political candidate, the country will burn, but more discussions and sources rather than name-calling. To my fellow mature Reddit users, keep being kind. Name-calling will never educate people. Keep initiating thought-provoking conversations with others. Story 22. Reddit, like a lot of other social media, has people with average intelligence and a lot of hate posting. The problem with Reddit is that everyone thinks they have very high intelligence and that they are very tolerant, which is the worst combination. Story 23. Here's the thing, the vast majority of platforms people are mentioning have at least some kind of filter. 4chan has no such thing. Slur after slur, threats, and insane amounts of incel behavior, and none of it is censored. Absolutely none of it. I feel like a lot of people really don't know about 4chan, which is not a bad thing. People saying things like LinkedIn when 4chan exists is crazy. 4chan literally has threads dedicated to Nazism and white supremacy. Again, completely uncensored and barely moderated because moderators are all for it. But sure, LinkedIn. Story 24. Since Elon Musk bought it, Twitter/X has become a neo-fascist, Hieronymus Bosch-esque hellscape. Story 25. Facebook trade groups I have known for a long time, but some of the people I worked around aren't the sharpest tools. The political stuff that they push is ridiculous and makes me lose a lot of faith in humanity, as well as just being an absolutely toxic environment. Story 26. Twitter's such an interesting case study in how bad your platform can get when you throw moderation effectively out the window. Literal Nazis with hundreds of thousands of followers and likes per post. Racial, homophobic, and ableist slurs galore. The dumbest people alive getting higher priority in the replies because they spent $8 to be worthlessly verified. But don't you dare say cis or Elon's goons will limit your post's visibility. Story 27. They are all pretty toxic if you are not very careful about curating your experience, but personally I had the worst experience with Twitter. Daily Twitter users have settled into this culture where if a news event happened 5 minutes ago, they have to jump in with their opinion on it before it's old news in 10 minutes. And there's never any context included. You are just expected to already know what happened before even major news sites have picked up the story. And that's just the benign part of Twitter. Every time a celebrity finds themselves at the center of an unwarranted cancellation attempt, that's where it started. Story 28. Lately, Twitter has been taken over by those who push boundaries. You can basically say anything you want, just as long as you don't say cis or cisgender. Want to make inappropriate comments on a person's post about the anniversary of their mother's death? Go right ahead. Musk will probably even give it a like. Story 29. TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all pure brain rot. I use Reddit as a library where I can joke and fool around, but in the meanwhile, Reddit is full of useful knowledge. Story 30. TikTok. But most of the others aren't much better. Edit. On second thought, Twitter is worse since Elon Musk took it over and encouraged toxicity in the name of free expression. Story 31. I find it hilarious that the very liberal Reddit claims Twitter is toxic. Reddit people really like this rock they live under. I'm expecting to get downvoted to oblivion, only to prove my point. Story 32. While we are on the subject, why did Instagram comments become so right-wing? Reddit is pretty lukewarm liberal grandstanding, but Instagram feels consistently far-right. Story 33. 1. Twitter Elon is destroying it. 2. Instagram out of control, especially with strange individuals commenting on teenagers' posts. 3. Facebook, only eccentric individuals and grandmothers are there. Story 34. Anyone saying anything other than Twitter is just flat out wrong. That place has become a shell of its former self and is full of illegal and disturbing content, the worst trolls, and make America great again. Story 35. Twitter for the commentary, TikTok for the misinformation. TikTok's misinformation tends to lean towards health, beauty, and fitness, which I think are equally as damaging as conspiracy theories.